going to start with number 1. So perform the given translation on the point 5, negative 3. Give the coordinates of the translated point. Make sure that you are showing your work for full credit. That was in your directions. And that you're reading your directions carefully. For one like number 1, you might be able to do that in your head, and that's fine. But you also need to make sure that you have the proper notation. So you're performing this translation, and then you're giving the coordinates. Yesterday, something I noticed is sometimes people did not put the parentheses around the point, and you would lose some points for the question on that. So we're going to start with the point 5, negative 3. We're going to go 2 units to the left. So 2 units to the left is going to affect the x coordinate, and because it's left, you're just going to subtract 2, and then your final answer should be 3, negative 3. Now for a question like this on your quiz, you didn't have that, I would not mark anything down. Okay, it's just if you show things like that and I can see like you have the right steps but just made an error transferring your answer, you could get more credit that way. For B, it's a reflection across the x axis, which means the y coordinate is the opposite. So if I'm starting with 5, negative 3, it becomes positive 5. The x stays the same. So the x is the same, the y is the opposite. And again, just has to be proper coordinate notation. Okay, 6 units right, that's going to be your x coordinate. 3 units up is going to affect your y coordinate. Okay, so if I have 5, negative 3, 6 units to the right is addition. 3 units up is plus 3. So you should have 11, 0. Okay, questions for me on number 1. So again, the number 1 on your quiz is going to be the same type of thing, dealing with your coordinates. All right, number 2, remember we had to change that a little bit because by we I mean I, was editing the document and then didn't move that over, so we could do 3 points here. So you're going to use a table with at least 4 points to perform each transformation on your given function. This is your y equals f of x. Graph the transformation on the same plane. So you have to do that. You have to graph the transformation and you have to use a table. Okay? Your table is going to be of your new points. Okay? Your quiz is going to say the same thing where you have the 4 points. Like I said, I had to adjust this. So the original points that we're using is the 0, 0, the 2, 3, and the negative 2, negative 3. Okay, so if it's a reflection across the y-axis, the x coordinates are opposite, y is the same. So for your table, I want to see your new points. So my x's become the opposite. 2, 0, negative 2. The y's stay the same. Negative 3, 0, 3. Okay, so this is the table I want you to have here. These are your new points after the transformation. And then we're just going to graph it. So negative 2, 1, 2, 3, 0, 0, and then negative 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and I will have you use a straight edge tomorrow. All right, any questions about part A? All right, let's go to part B. So part B is a horizontal compression by a factor of 1/3. First thing I'm going to do is write down the original points that I'm using. Okay, so for this one it was negative 2, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 0, 1, and 1, 0, and 2, 1, 2. 2, negative 2. Okay, And I know those weren't perfect. I'm sorry I didn't double check that. Okay, and then I'm going to create my new table based on the transformation. So it's a horizontal compression. The horizontal compression is applied to the x coordinate. The rule is xy goes to axy. So we have to multiply the x coordinate by 1/3. The y stays the same. Okay, so my y's are going to say -2, 0, 1, 0, -2. And then I'm going to multiply all these by 1/3. So when you're multiplying by 1/3, -2 times 1/3 is -2/3. Okay, this would be -1/3. This would still be 0. This would be 1/3. And this would be 2/3. Okay, and then I'm going to plot those points. So -2/3, -2, so I'm going to estimate -2/3, -2, -1/3, 0, 0, 1, stays the same. And then really from here, they're going to be symmetric. And then just when you graph it, just make sure you have your same shape. You have your parabola with your arrows. Graphed on the same plane. All right, question for me on that one? Yes.
I used the points 2, -3, and -2, -3.
So, as long as they are points that are on the graph, that is fine. And again, this one got a little adjusted. Yes. So, on your quiz, as long as you have 4 points that are on the graph, perfectly fine. All right, and then this one says to identify the parent function name, okay, from its function rule, and then you have to describe what transformation it represents. Okay, so a lot of people did this wrong at first. Do you guys remember what I told you is a good way to check this? You could do what to make sure? You could graph it. Okay, so the name of the parent function is the square root function. Okay, and then if we weren't sure what happens, we could go to y equals, we could turn our plot off, we could graph the square root of x, and we could graph the square root of x minus 6. Also remember, anytime it's under the square root, that means you're moving left or right. Oh, I don't have my window right. So you can always go to your window and adjust, or you can go to zoom and then Z standard, get you that 10 by 10 back really quickly. So there's my first one, there's my second one. The graph is moving right or left? To the right. Okay, so translation, 6 units right. Okay, so remember, it's inside the square root. Okay, so the rule is f of x minus h, so your h is a positive 6. Okay, your parent function for this is the linear parent function. F of x would be x. Okay, this one you could technically have 2 answers that I would count correct. So if I graph x and then x plus 3, there's my original, here's my new one. Okay, so you could either say up 3 or it's also moving where? Yeah, so either one of those is fine. Because this is on the outside, I would think of this as my f of x plus k, where k is 3. Because it's linear, it's special. So this is 3 units up. Or if you said 3 units left, that's fine too. Okay, either one of those is going to be fine.